Hi, I'm Sean Garrison, online editor of Cordell & Cordell and DadsDivorce.com. Today we are joined by Doug French, who is the co-founder and director of programming for the Dad 2.0 Summit. The Dad 2.0 Summit is an annual conference that was held last month in San Francisco, where marketers, social media leaders, and blogging parents connected to discuss the changing voice and perception of modern childhood. We will talk with Mr. French about the history of the conference, the highlights of this year's event, and what to expect at next year's summit. Thank you for joining us today, Doug.
Thank you, Sean. It's great to be here.
Can you start by telling us a little more about the purpose of the Dad 2.0 Summit? Who attends this conference and what are they there for?
Sure. Well, the Dad 2.0 Summit is basically, it's set up for dad bloggers. I mean, it began basically as an outcropping of the Mom 2.0 Summit. I mean, that's been around about 2 years longer than we have. And during their conference in 2011, they devoted an entire track to just dad-specific content, and the place was standing room only. So my partner and I, who are affiliated with Mom 2.0, we came up to the podium at the end of Mom, and we had a logo and an idea, and we said, this is going to happen now. We need to have a social media conference with the word dad in the title. So our first conference was in Austin in March of 2012. And it's set up, obviously, it's foremost, it has a commercial goal to it. I mean, it's about content campaigns and working with brands and trying to find, revenue streams to sustain the work we do. But underlying all that, if you come to a conference with the idea of wanting to sell a blog or work with a brand in that way, you still have to find your groove as a writer and as a father and as a man. And I think there are people who kind of put the cart before the horse in that regard, and they show up and say, let's just make some free money. And it isn't about that. We work soup to nuts. We work on all sorts of aspects of what it's like to be a father in the 21st century. And that includes being non-residential. It includes blended families. It includes dealing with depression. It includes all sorts of aspects that men don't usually get a chance to get together and talk about. And so we're trying to bring those topics to light.
Absolutely. And how much growth has this event seen since its inception?
Now you're going to get me excited. Absolutely. Because the growth has been astonishing, and it's been a marvel to watch. I mean, we started off, as I say, we were in outside of Austin in 2012. We actually overlapped a bit with South by Southwest on purpose, so we could share some speakers because we knew they'd all be in Austin anyway. And that we barely broke. We got about 200 people there, and 24.7 million Twitter impressions over that weekend. And so now, 4 years later, our attendance was 361, and we're expecting to hit 400 next year in Washington. So we're going to double. The messaging is great when you think about how 4 years ago we were struggling with how dads are portrayed in ads and movies and things, kind of as aloof and incompetent and so forth. And now, 4 years later, you're looking at lots of brands taking the message of modern fatherhood to the Super Bowl, and 200 million people checking that out. So the growth has been great.
Absolutely. Now, the conference is billed as an open conversation about the commercial power of dads online. We've seen recently a lot of companies, including the summit's sponsor, Dove Men Plus Care, start to recognize the commercial power that fathers can have. And they've been adjusting their marketing strategies accordingly. This is a bit of an open-ended question, but can you tell us why that's significant?
I'm a big proponent of advertising as messaging. I mean, not proponent, I guess. I mean, I understand the power of that messaging. I understand, and I think we all should, that obviously when it comes to bringing up children, parenting is ideally the top influence that children should have, but it's completely not. And I think what Michael Kimmel was talking about when he gave our keynote last year, was that so much of what we're trying to do involves shifting perceptions a bit in terms of making it seem cool again. The whole idea of working to secure longer paternity leave, or to reinvigorate mentoring as a thing that many children and men can benefit from. And that's another thing that's lost on the mentoring idea. It's that there are plenty of men who have a lot of expertise to give and a lot of love to give who just don't have an outlet for it. And so much of fighting for more paternity leave involves a bit of stigma. I mean, we all saw what Daniel Murphy went through last year when he took paternity leave. He left the New York Mets for 3 days, and the place went bananas. But it brought that topic to the national spotlight, and that's what I'm grateful for. And I think having someone like Dove Men Plus Care with its advertising, having Esquire magazine be our media partner. These guys have been, Esquire has been the arbiter of cool for 90 years in many ways. And so to have a men's magazine embrace fatherhood in this way is a huge shift. I think that's important. And I think that's when you start getting people whose opinions are respected and consumed worldwide, when they start getting behind you, that's how you shift perceptions a bit and you move the needle meaningfully to the point where it's going to stay there for a while.
And on that note, what should someone do if they're interested in attending next year's conference?
Well, we just had our post-conference sale, and so we kind of closed the ticket window for the spring, just because we need to make sure we have enough room for everybody. We're about 75% sold out right now. But our tickets will reopen on June 1st. We're going to have about 3 weeks for Father's Day to have a particular promotion then. And the ticket window will be open for the rest of the year until we sell out. Following the Twitter feed, which is at Dad2Summit, Dad, the number 2 Summit. We have our website, dad2summit.com, and there's a blog there that we keep track of. There's a newsletter you can subscribe to, and just plug into the community. I think there's lots of activity on Facebook, lots of dads who are working together. And the great thing is our community it's growing tremendously, but it's also close-knit enough to stay pretty intimate. And so when you come to Dad 2.0, you're going to meet people right away. And the great thing is, because we all kind of know each other now, our welcome parties are less about introductions and they're more about reunions, because this is the third, fourth time they've been with us. But even if you haven't been with us before, by the time you come to 2017, wherever that is, you'll feel like one of the team.
Thank you for joining us today, Doug. We enjoyed having you here on Dad's Divorce Live.
No, I appreciate it. I'm glad to talk about it, and I'm especially now that since Dad 2.0 has been over for a couple of weeks, and I can just kind of sit back and speak about it in a more relaxed way and just talk about it after the fact. Now that it's in the books, but it's a pleasure to talk to you, and I'm really looking forward to setting some new records next year, and I hope to see you.
That was Doug French, the co-founder and director of programming of the Dad 2.0 Summit. To read more about the Dad 2.0 Summit, be sure to visit the summit's website at dad2summit.com. That's dad2, the number 2, summit.com. This has been Sean Garrison, online editor of Cordell & Cordell and DadsDivorce.com. Thank you for watching Dad's Divorce Live.